In our last episode, England's American colonies were fragile, often hungry, sometimes at war, but slowly putting down roots. Yet across the Atlantic in London, the empire's very foundation was shaking. Could England itself hold steady? A king suspected of tyranny, a parliament unwilling to bend, and a coup so elegant they called it glorious. Today, we tell the story of the glorious revolution of 1688, the bloodless coup that reshaped England's monarchy, stabilized its empire, and set the stage for Britain to rise as a global power. By the late 17th century, England was a nation in turmoil. Civil wars had toppled one king, another had been executed, and Oliver Cromwell had tried the experiment of a republic. That didn't last long. The monarchy came back, but with conditions. The crown was no longer untouchable. Parliament had teeth. Religion divided the land. And on the throne sat James II, a Catholic king ruling over a Protestant majority. In a country that still remembered the Spanish Armada, Catholic king was basically political nitroglycerin. And sure enough, it blew up. James II inherited the throne in 1685 after his brother, Charles II, died. Now, Charles was known as the Merry Monarch, a king who enjoyed life's pleasures, theatre, mistresses, wine, you name it. His reign restored some cheer after Cromwell's Puritan greyness. James, on the other hand, was none of those things. He was serious, stubborn, and most dangerously for his time, openly Catholic. England was a Protestant nation. Catholicism was associated with Spain, France, and papal meddling. James's attempts to promote Catholics to high office alarmed the Protestant elite. He dismissed Parliament, ruled by decree, and even tried to suspend laws that restricted Catholics. Whispers grew louder. Was James building an absolute monarchy? Was he another Louis XIV in the making? The final straw came in June 1688, when James's second wife gave birth to a son. Suddenly, the prospect of a Catholic dynasty looked very real. At this moment, a group of Protestant nobles sent a very polite invitation to William of Orange, the Dutch stadtholder and husband of James's Protestant daughter, Mary. The letter was essentially, "Dear William, please invade our country and save us from tyranny. Regards, the English elite." William accepted. After all, England was a valuable ally in his wars against Catholic France. He landed at Torbay in November 1688 with an army of around 15,000. James's forces, they kind of melted away. Many of his officers defected. Even his own daughter, Princess Anne, sided with William. Talk about awkward family reunions. James fled to France twice, actually, because the first time he was caught. The second time, they just let him go. Nobody wanted him back. And so, with barely a shot fired, England had a new monarch. Or rather two, William and Mary, ruling jointly. Why call it glorious? Because for once in English history, the change of rulers wasn't bathed in rivers of blood. Instead, it was sealed with parchment, the Bill of Rights, 1689. This document limited royal power, cemented Parliament's authority, and guaranteed basic rights for subjects. Well, Protestant subjects, Catholics and nonconformists were still excluded. Among its key points: 1. The king could not suspend laws at will. 2. Parliament had to consent to taxes. 3. Standing armies in peacetime were banned without Parliament's approval. 4. Freedom of speech in Parliament was guaranteed. In short, goodbye absolute monarchy, hello constitutional monarchy. The crown was still glittery, but Parliament now held the real weight. Religion was at the heart of this revolution. The settlement ensured that the monarch of England would always be Protestant. Catholicism was effectively shut out of power. The Toleration Act, 1689, allowed certain Protestant dissenters, like Baptists and Quakers, to worship freely, though they couldn't hold public office. Catholics and Jews, still marginalized, but for the Protestant majority, this was a relief. The empire, too, took on this Protestant identity. Colonists across New England celebrated William and Mary's accession. In New York, A militia captain named Jacob Leisler even led a rebellion, claiming to support the new Protestant monarchs. The colonies learned an important lesson. Politics in London could shake their world overnight. The Glorious Revolution did more than settle religious disputes. It provided the political stability England desperately needed. Investors felt secure lending money to a government now accountable to Parliament. In 1694, the Bank of England was founded, giving the state a reliable way to finance wars and expansion. Trade boomed. The Navigation Acts, restricting colonial trade to English ships, were enforced more effectively, tying colonies closer to the mother country. And abroad, the Protestant succession meant England was firmly locked into alliances against Catholic France and Spain. The empire would now expand under the banner not just of commerce, but of Protestant destiny. For the colonies, the Glorious Revolution brought both hope and headaches. In Massachusetts, James II had revoked the colony's original charter, creating the unpopular Dominion of New England, ruled by a royal governor. When word of the revolution reached Boston, colonists promptly arrested him and sent him packing. Eventually, Massachusetts got a new charter under William and Mary, but with less independence than before. Colonial assemblies existed, but governors were appointed by the crown. This new balance, self-government in practice, but royal oversight in theory, would define colonial politics for the next century. The Glorious Revolution set the stage for Britain's next act, war and expansion. A stable government with financial muscle, a Protestant monarchy leading coalitions against Catholic powers, an empire tied more tightly by trade. Soon, Britain would find itself in a conflict that spanned continents, the War of the Spanish Succession. But for now, the Revolution of 1688 was celebrated as a triumph of liberty over tyranny. The colonies of Virginia and New England may have been fragile, but England itself had faced the real test. And it had emerged with something stronger, a constitutional monarchy, a Protestant identity, and the stability to project power overseas. As one Whig politician declared, "The revolution was made to preserve our ancient laws and to secure them to posterity." But preserving laws was only half the story. Soon, Britain would fight for spoils on the global stage. In the next episode, we explore the War of the Spanish Succession, Gibraltar, trade dominance, and the empire's first real taste of global supremacy.